we're going to be here till 9. And there'll be music and dancing till 9. And if you want to come over to the house for a cup of coffee or to keep on dancing, we can do that too. It'll go on as long as there's somebody around to party with.
Sarah goes.
I had all these things that I wanted to say, and otherwise, but I'd be up here 30 minutes, and I know you don't want to do that. But, Kevin and my
We're not ready yet, Mom. Keep talking.
Kevin and my what?
That means stretch.
Keep talking. All right, well, I can do that. You have something you want to say?
You need to use the microphone.
Oh, okay. In thinking about this party, it's all about connections. I can't name everybody that's so special to us that is here. But you wouldn't be here if you weren't so special to us. So we're so excited that you were able to come and that you can share this exciting time for us in our lives. And we just are so grateful. I know I am so grateful. I've been thinking about I know so many stories about this guy that I can tell you. It's hard because how do you choose? We met when I was 24. And we've been together. What'd she say? Oh.
On the 21st.
On the 21st, yes. To choose. So I decided that what I needed to do was tell you my favorite story. And if I have time later on, I can tell you some of the other fun ones. But here's my favorite story. When my first boss is here, Larry Valkovic at that time he was getting his PhD in genetics at NC State. And I was working on a grant with him. Yeah, that one again. And what's funny about this story is now a lot of you have heard parts of it, and we get asked this all the time. It's like, how did you meet? How did you meet? That's the most common question we have. And we always tell. I mean, we tell the truth, but we may not tell all the story. So anyway, Roger Smith, who couldn't be with us today, he's in Seattle, Washington, but he was with us at the retirement party, so some of you met him. And he had moved to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I worked in the same lab. I was working for Larry, but we were working in the same lab. He calls me up and he says, I've got this, I'm working on the NASA Biosatellite project. I have a 1-year position, and he said, I need somebody who's already trained, because we're on the road running. And I was thinking of you, and I thought, I want to move to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I was studying biology at State, and he said, well, think about it. It's a national lab. If you put it on your CV, think about it. So he called me back a little while later, and I said, well, okay. I was supposed to be there 1 year. That's not very long. When I look back and think about it, that's not very long at all. I've been thinking about that lately. I wouldn't have wanted to miss that. But after 6 months of being there, same fella, Roger, my friend, he says, I'm having a few people over to the house, and I wanted you to come. And he said, I've met this guy. And he said, his name's Heinrich Malling, and he said, I think you'd like him. And I knew who he was talking about. I'd seen him a couple of times. He'd come in to look at some of his experiments. He didn't speak to anybody. He didn't look at anybody, So I know there was a funny look on my face because Roger kind of chuckled, and he said, he's kind of crazy, but I really think you'd like him. So I go to the party, and I get there, and come in the door, And who's standing in the hallway, taking up the whole hallway, by the way, with a glass of scotch in his hand, and he says to me, "Well, wait a minute, I'm telling this story. You can tell yours." So he says, literally, I remember it verbatim. He looks at me, he looks at Richard. Here's Richard now. He looks at me, he looks at Richard, and he looks back at me. I've never met the man in my life. I've never said, "Hello, how do you do?" Nothing. He looks at me, he looks at Richard, he looks back at me, he says, "Where'd you get him? Did you pick him up off the street?" Well, I was totally insulted and would have nothing to do with him at all. Even though there were efforts made, I would like to. No. Well, later on that night, I went to check on Richard. And who was in there? With Richard, playing and having a great time, but Heinrich. And so I stood there a while and I thought, you know, maybe I better give him a second chance. I was pretty impressed. And as they say, you know, the rest is. Do you all know when you think of Viking? When you think of Viking in your mind, do you come up with sort of words or thoughts or ideas or concepts? One would be
Heinrich,
a conqueror. So anyway, it was like that. So, but that's my favorite story because I'm grateful that we found each other and that we've been together for 42 years in July.
There's a little detail about that, and a little bit later, Heinrich had picked Martha up and sat her on top of a washing machine, and basically he was talking with her, but she was captivated.
I was captive and captivated. Yes, I will acknowledge that. Now that since Heinrich is telling me, he told me a couple of days ago. Well, I'm having this 80th birthday party. He woke up yesterday morning and he said, "I'm so excited, just like a little kid." Anyway, he told me that this was going to be his last party, his last big party, his last big party. And of course, I said to myself, 100. We'll have 100 for a birthday party of 100. But anyway, I wanted to share that story with you, and then there are others that I can tell maybe later.
Yeah.
Did you want to have the microphone?
I would like to have my I'm sharing the birthday with some very important people today. Yeah, it's not really my birthday, as you know, today, because the birthday was 21st of April. And I'm sharing it with a very, very important person, which is actually here today, namely Ben Alexander. And he's standing right down there. And the funny part of this is that he also celebrated his birthday today. So, here you see. The other person I celebrated is the people who came from Lockridge. This lady there, this was also born on the 21st. And then, last but not very important, and unfortunately I sent an invitation to that person, but she was busy in Westminster Abbey and she was busy in Buckingham Palace, so she didn't come tonight. So she missed something. I'm sure this is more gay than what she is up for. But anyway, the 21st is a very important day for me because Martha and I met the 21st. My oldest daughter is born on the 21st. My youngest daughter is born on the 21st. My youngest granddaughter is born on the 21st. No. So for you, if there are any numerologists around you, try to figure that out. I have just said she had birthday, you see. A couple of sad news. Mark Twain died April the 21st. And my God, with our political situation right now, I wish he was back. Because he could say a couple of words about our political, and I missed his sayings. The other thing is that the 21st of February last year, one of my absolutely best friends died, and that was John Watson, and I just want to take a minute to remember him here in this. Because he was here to a retirement party, and he had a fantastic time, and he did nothing else than telling.
Stories on you.
Yeah, correct. So anyway, you're welcome, and please continue to eat. And this is the end of my... Well, it has been a fantastic ride from the day I was born to the day I met her, and on and on and on. Thank you, Martha, for sharing the life with me. And also I want to thank Martha for doing this here, because without her, it wouldn't have been. So thank you.
Well, it sounds like everybody's got champagne. So,
Not have champagne.
or apple cider.
Anybody need anything?
We got a hand raised up. Oh no.
Can I have
No,
one?
that's the camera.
Maybe doing both. I don't know.
And what about the cake? Have we cut the cake yet? We haven't cut the cake yet.
No, we haven't got the
Haven't
cake.
cake yet. Okay, next one thing at a time. Well, I don't know what to say. I said no.
Coach said you love me?
I do love you. What I can say is that
Has it been boring to be married to me?
no. What I can say is beyond measure. Oh yes, now I remember. Kevin came, and ever since Kevin and Sophie came, I can't remember a thing about what I was going to say. We've had ups and we've had downs, but what we've done, I think, is we've never been down at the same time.
Yeah.
So that seemed to work, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back and tell you a couple of these stories, because if you can imagine being able to live with a guy who, sees the world in his own original way, it's just too fun and too funny. And I am deeply grateful and look forward to the next 20 years.
Well,
How about that?
yeah, but I will have one more thing, one more story. She should have been warned before, because the first date I invited her out on was a hiking trip to the fire tower in Oak Ridge.
Oh, I remember something else I wanted to say, though. Yeah, that reminds me. Yes. This is important. Okay, my education about Danes and Norwegians began when I met Heinrich. And he was he just literally swept me off my feet. And then I got invited to his best friends, the Brunsteds, right? And they remember, right, that first time. Well, I knew on some level that I was being evaluated. I mean, what else do you say, But, so I was a little nervous about it, but that was just the way it was. And they were the most generous, warm, loving folks. What I have learned about the Norwegians, though, is they're smart.
Smart test.
Next one, they are competitive. They're like first cousins, although my first cousin Ginger, who's here, I don't think we're quite that bad. But anyway, you get them together and they are very competitive, but in a good way, And they really love to tell you about their kids and what they're doing, and they're really family folks. But more than anything else, they are loyal and true. And they have been loyal and true to this guy right here, because they've been his family in this country. So I wanted to say that too. Is that okay?
That's
Is that
beautiful.
okay?
Thank you.
Let's have a hand. Thank you for taking care of him so much before I got to meet him. So we're going to sing Happy Birthday, right? Is that what we're doing? Okay. And drinking. Oh, well.
Happy birthday.
Well, I'm toasted.
I know. Kevin's
You're toasted.
Oh, Kevin, is it Kevin's turn?
I'm doing a great job emceeing, aren't I?
Kevin,
All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Heinrich. Happy birthday to you. And many more. At least twins. All right.
Champagne needs to be drunk at this point.
Toast, toast, cheers.
Toast, toast.
Skål!
Goal! Bottoms up.
Skål!
Arrivederci.
Okay.
Well, I do actually want to talk to you guys about my mom kind of hit on the how my parents met story. Now, I came around 5 years after they actually got married. So to me, this is just a myth. What I got told was that Roger and Larry, mainly Roger, Larry had Larry was innocent. Larry had brought Mom to Tennessee, but Roger had really done the matchmaking. There was a party where Mom and Mom had seen Dad, but he was this weird stinky Dane that didn't take showers. He was like this weird guy.
Telling it all.
You know, this weird, scientist guy, totally in his head, that kind of thing. They're at a party, and they're in the kitchen, and Mom's sitting on the countertop. And Dad and her have been talking for, I don't know, a good 45 minutes to an hour and 15.
No, he was talking.
He was talking, she was listening. Because, he can talk.
The tables have turned now, though.
Yeah. What you don't understand about my father is that he just excuses himself. He just kind of disappears. Stop, Mom, because this is part of the story. So Mom's sitting on the countertop. It's been about 15 minutes. And she's going, well, what's going on? Why isn't this guy coming back, So she says, okay, whatever. She goes and checks on her sons. And she finds my father playing with her 2 boys.
No, Kevin was not there.
Kevin wasn't there, so just Richard.
Yeah.
I was, 7. I don't really get it all correct. But that was the day that my mother fell in love with my father. That's what she said to me. Because their relationship is the strongest that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've watched them go through ups and downs, and trust me, I have caused a lot of problems in that relationship. Trust me. So, that is the story that I wanted to tell. I was wondering if my brother, the MC that has not spoken at this point,
I found out I was MC 15 minutes ago, okay?
if he would like to say something. Did you want to tell a story?
I'll come up with something.
Okay, Richard? No, Richard's hiding somewhere. Richard's hiding somewhere. Larry, this is story time on Heinrich.
Just raise your hand if you got one.
Feel free.
Kirsten said something about Heinrich excusing himself. There was a time when Martha and the kids had gone to Spain. At that time, her sister and brother-in-law were in Spain, and they went to visit. And Heinrich was at home, and so we were together a lot because we worked together. We were out having a beer one night in Raleigh, and a fellow that I knew who was a reporter for the News and Observer came and he sat down and we were chatting, and Heinrich was talking along, and the fellow said to Heinrich, and Heinrich does, as usually does, mispronounce a word or two. And the guy looked over and says, "Do you mind if I correct your English?" Heinrich says, "Yes, I like the way I speak." Kevin?
Yeah. I actually don't have one yet. People keep taking the good ones. I will say that I remember on Plum Lane and, well, 30 years ago, I guess it was. I don't know what year that was. Somebody here good at math can figure that out. Anyway, I remember when he turned 50, he had a halfway there party. I don't know how many of you were there for that. A couple of you guys were. I know I was. So we will do this again in 20 years. All the way. That's good. He'll have even more new parts by then. If we haven't shortcutted the process and just done a brain transplant on a younger body instead, it'd save a lot of money, I think. I think the most, well, the funniest thing to me, knowing, just looking at the two of them, my mom and my dad, from out there a few minutes ago. This nice Southern woman. You know what it's like to be. Most of you know what it's like to be Southerners, to have grown up here and what that's like. To unashamedly be standing next to somebody that's wearing a Viking helmet and won't let those eyebrows be touched by anybody. That's love. If that's not love, it's something that needs clinical help. So let's call it love. Why not? Okay. Anyway, Jim, you got it?
I've got many.
Just pick the best 2 or 5.
No, just one. No, just one. It's a measure of character, right? It's called the Beam Story. So Heinrich called us up and said, we really need to go down. Could you give me a hand with the beach house? All right, mic's not on?
No, it's on. You just have to talk into it.
Oh, okay. Is that better? So Heinrich says, come down and help me out with the beach house because the front porch is sagging and stuff. I'm going, okay, we'll go down there. And we go down there, and he's got this funny sort of jig made with a jack at the bottom. And it's a pole that goes straight up. And he's got a brand new 6x6 beam that we're going to put under the house. So we get the beam, we get it up, and I'm going, Heinrich, I'm not sure that this throw is going to be right. Oh, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. So we get the beam, the 6x6 beam up, and so we start jacking, and I'm going, Heinrich, I don't think it's going to hold. This is not right. Heinrich's underneath the beam of the house, going, I can get it. So, jack, 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 and he's standing under the beam. Well, he didn't get it. Well, and then so the beam lands on his head. And was he phased? No, he was just a little dazed. We're talking like a 16-foot 6x6 beam falls on his head, and he's going.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, this is really bad. This is really bad. And I look at him, and there's blood coming down his head. I'm going, let me take a look at this. I look in there, and I'm going, oh, sure enough. There's a nice gash on the top of his head, and he's still walking around going, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. All right, and then I say, look, this thing's going to take at least 2 or 3 stitches. We're going to have to go to the emergency room. And what does he say? This will tell you about his relationship with Martha. Don't tell Martha. I'm going, Heinrich, We're going to be taking a drive to the Brunswick County Emergency Room. I'm just supposed to tell her we're going for a drive, and you're going to come back with part of your head shaved, and these stitches in there, and we're all going to stand around and look like nothing happened. So, that was it.
Anybody else?
I
You want to know about this?
I'm gonna digress.
Uh-oh.
Because I don't know that Mom actually. No, Mom might know this story.
Uh-oh.
So I was Dad's man bag. Basically, I was the kid that went with him everywhere. We go down to the beach. We were there Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. He's working in the cottage. I'm 9. I'm cooking.
Yeah.
We go to the emergency room twice for him and twice for me. And he said, "Don't tell your mother." I'm like looking at him like, "Dad, you have stitches in your cheek. Like, she's not gonna notice." She just didn't ask. She just said, "Whatever." Right, that was it.
Talking about the beach, this is a good one, and then these are all true. We were all down at the beach already, and Heinrich was expected. And here's what happened. He was driving along. He was on 211, so he was almost there. And Betty, you know, you get down there. And he gets pulled over by a policeman. And so he says, "Sir, would you come out and walk the line for me?"
That was before breathalyzer.
Before breathalyzer, right. So he got out, and he walked the line, and he came back. And he said, "You're not drunk." And he said, "No, I haven't had a drink since 1987 when I had surgery." And he said, "Well, you were weaving all over the road. What were you doing?" And Heinrich says, "I was thinking." And the policeman says, "Sir, stop thinking about whatever you were thinking about and start thinking about the road, or I'm going to give you a ticket. Good night." So yeah, we've had a lot of funny times, stories. Now, Pat, do you remember the time when Heinrich came out and Kirsten was having her horseback riding lessons with you?
Let Pat tell this story.
Oh, all right, yeah. Pat, tell it. You want to tell it, Pat?
It's a good story.
It's a good story.
If she tells it so well.
Take it so that he can come over.
So, here we are at the farm. Okay, so Kirsten is 7 or 8 years old, and she's trying to learn how to post on her pony. And her dad is there, but he wanders off. And the lesson is over, and there's no dad. So I said, well, no, maybe he went for a walk. And Kirsten kind of said, oh no, don't know. Anyhow, we started looking, and up in the woods, there was this enormous prone figure. Not exactly snoring, but certainly asleep. And it was Heinrich. He had just gotten bored watching the kids do this. And he'd wandered off and taken a nap. Several days, or maybe a week later, I went up to take the dogs for a walk. And I went past the place where Heinrich had been reposing. And here was a wallet, and credit cards, and all this stuff. And I pictured myself, whoever could have been here leaving all this money and stuff on, in the middle of the woods on Dawson's Crossroad. And it was Heinrich. And nobody had ever called me up and said, oh, I lost my wallet. I don't have my driver's license. He was thinking. So I've always treasured that memory of Heinrich and this person who was able to just say, oh, well, It's not really meaningful. Thank you, Heinrich.
You're welcome, Pat. Thanks for the story.
Okay, Jack. Is Jack going to tell one? No. I'm going to tell one. Well, anyone is welcome if they have a story.